Man, at the end of the day, I think at the least should have been a mistrial. And really, Tory Lanez should have been found innocent. And this case is crazy, but it's really just an example of what this climate is turning to, with emotions being over everything, feelings being over everything instead of the facts, right? Where if someone was wronged or they feel wronged, that it gives them no accountability towards being honest about what took place, right? It matters that Meg lied, right? Now, what she lied about matters, right? Now, if she lied about things that had nothing to do with the case, I can understand that, right? That wouldn't hurt her credibility. But the reason that it matters that she lied about her being in a sexual relationship with Tory Lanez on live TV, right, was because it took away the probable cause for the person who probably did the real shooting. Now, Kelsey, she got on the stand, right, as a witness, said she didn't see Tory Lanez shoot the girl, didn't see Tory Lanez with the gun. That's what she said, right? She said she didn't see Tory Lanez shoot her. And she also said that she didn't hear Tory Lanez say dance, bitch, dance, right? Nobody other than Meg Thee Stallion got up there and said they heard Tory say dance, bitch, dance, right? Nobody else. Now, the witness that the defense brought up said that he heard Tory Lanez yelling abusive torrents, right? But you gotta understand, everybody there was drunk. Kelsey was drunk. Meg was drunk. Tory was drunk. Everybody was drunk. Men, watch out about being in high pressure situations where a large quantity of alcohol is involved, right? You gotta be careful about those situations. But to me, it seems like a pretty clear case of Kelsey, who pled the fifth, right, to not incriminate herself, that she was the shooter. The witness came up, said that saw Kelsey and Meg get into a fight, which Meg Thee Stallion lied about, which it matters that she lied about, because why? That's probable cause. Is it really probable cause that she said that the dude's music was only popping because he had a feature with Jack Harlow in 2020, where barely anyone I knew even knew about Jack Harlow in 2020? I didn't really know about Jack Harlow until 2022, but I knew about Tory Lanez back then. So it's just one of those things where I don't see the probable cause for him shooting her, right? Or even shooting at her. From the sounds of it, he kicked both of them out the car, Kelsey and Meg, because they were fighting each other. They're using the evidence that Kelsey said that Meg was shot, or that Tory shot Meg, which easily could have been her trying to cover her tracks, because only her and only her and Tory could have been the ones who fired the shots that hit Meg, right? And if she was the one who did it, of course, she would want to cover her tracks. So she'll just put the blame on Tory. Easy, right? It's a better storyline. And with that storyline, you can leverage that for sympathy to go with the believe all women narratives, which is an obviously bullshit narrative, right? Because women do lie, right? Just like the Emmett Till situation. There's a lot of situations going on right now. And there are a lot of black women who are being inundated in this social programming that gives them the idea of a double minority, when really black women are not a double minority. In the system of white supremacy, black men are at the bottom of the totem pole. Got to understand that, right? So this idea of double minority, it gives black women who have been given more opportunities than the average black man, which I'm not mad at them about for taking, not even a little bit, giving them a feeling of superiority over black men. You can see that if you just look on Twitter, right? And it puts a wedge between us, right? But what I'll say is this. And I'm someone who's college educated, so I'm not seeing this as just somebody who's just bitter towards black women. That's not the case at all. But what I will say is this. All of the evidence from what I hear, from what I've seen of the case, the people who witnessed, the witnesses, the evidence that came in between EJ, right? Between Justin or Quan, I forgot what his name was, between Kelsey between Sean. All of it pointed towards Meg, and Meg the Stallion was upset and feeling jealous when Tory was flirting with, trying to fuck with Kylie Jenner at her party. They pretty much got kicked out the party. They were drunk. She was mad. So she started to run off at the mouth at Tory, right? So Tory put her on blast, right? And the whole text message about him apologizing seems pretty clear to me that he was apologizing about the fact that him putting her on blast about her sexual philandering, right? And going behind Kelsey's back led to them fighting and led to the ultimate situation that was used as evidence against him to say that he did it, which is ridiculous to me, right? But I'll say this, once situations get legal, then stop apologizing for anything. Go straight to your lawyer and leave everything alone, because anything that you say can and will be used against you. No matter how innocent you feel, the story can be spun. And the climate that we live in right now is one where the social programming is about social justice. So with the narrative of a black woman being a double minority, being a woman, she's already given a certain level of an ability to claim victimhood, toxic femininity, whether it's true or not. And people would rather protect the image, the symbol, rather than the substance. People would rather protect the image than to cling to the truth, right? This is the same reason why people are trying to shame black men to vote for Democratic parties, right? Like Sauce Walker and these individuals or Saucy Santana, whatever it was, right? Saying, oh, women don't have sex with men unless they're voting, and you know who they want you to vote for, right? No matter what they will or won't do for us. Just do it because it's a symbol. It's an image that's being portrayed. See, it matters that Meg lied. Because she lied to remove not only the damage towards her own reputation, but she lied to move people off of the idea of what the real probable cause was. It was nowhere as good of a story that would protect her image if her friend shot at her because they got in a fight after she got exposed for sleeping behind her friend with the men that she introduced her to. Right? Typically, I'm not somebody who believes in sexually shaming women. So it doesn't matter, right? But when it leads to probable cause, it does matter. Then Sean came up, said that they got into a fight, which Meg also lied about, which goes towards probable cause. And with that probable cause, said that she got into a fight with Kelsey. The driver, Tory, they tried to break the fight up. Tory, Kelsey, they fought over the gun. Then Tory let off some more shots. And apparently, he was talking about him shooting every which way. What about a man firing into the air, right, to empty the clip and to startle the people to stop the fight indicates that he's shooting at the woman in a way that could cause shrapnel to hit her in the feet. Because it wasn't a whole bullet, it was fragments, which means that someone had to be shooting directly in her direction, right? Tory Lanez is innocent. Now, negligent use of a firearm, I can see that, right? Possession of a firearm, no. I don't see that because I'll say this. If just holding the gun itself is seen as possession of a firearm, then yes. Because the witness, Sean, said that he fired shots off, pretty much in the air, shooting crazy, right? And that is a crime. So I do believe he could have been guilty of that, right? And also, possession of a firearm. If just holding the gun at all makes you guilty of possession of a firearm, then by the witness Sean, saying that he saw sparks flying off of Tory after the initial shots were rung off by Kelsey, then I can see him being guilty of that as well. But you got to understand, in this particular situation, if you're firing shots, which people do, firing warning shots off in order to dissipate a violent event, to catch people's attention so that the fight stops, right? Probably drunk, fired up, and trying to stop what's going on, or to empty out the clip because it's not his gun. And I heard it was a SCCY gun, which is mostly a woman's gun. Not that any gun is particularly a woman's gun, but for the most part, that's what it is. Now, EJ, the witness, said that he didn't see a gun specifically, but there were times where he would pack the bag, or he would look into the bag and he would see something that looked like a pistol within the bag. Tory Lanez got into the car and all he had was not even swimming trunks, but boxers on, right? Drawers, right? Now, with these drawers that he had on, one thing that you could understand is that where would he have space for a gun? Now, the bag was initially in the back of the truck, right? Then during the incursion, during the event, the bag ended up getting moved to the back seat of the car where Kelsey was. To me, it seems pretty clear, especially with Kelsey pleading the fifth, meaning that she had something she didn't want to incriminate herself on, and admitting the fight means that, there was something more than just the fight that she would incriminate herself on, that Kelsey was probably the person who shot, and there was clear probable cause for her shooting. Because if you're a 4'11" woman, fighting a woman who's 5'10", stacked, that's not no even fight. I'm a boxer. There's a reason that there are weight classes. If someone is so much bigger than you, then that is grounds for using a weapon to defend yourself. Like if you're a cripple, right? And just like Charleston White said, listen, if you're a cripple and you're a small individual and someone much bigger than you is trying to fight you, then their body then becomes a deadly weapon. There are weight classes for a reason. So a fight ensued. And I'll say this, I think a big part of this that took place is this, right? That when it came to the situation between Kelsey and Meg, is that Meg being seen as someone who was fighting over a nigga, right? Fighting over a man she was having sex with who wasn't her boyfriend, especially when she was the one wrong. That wouldn't be seen good in a positive light when it comes to what was going on. That wouldn't help her image as someone who's supposed to be this hot girl who's running these niggas up, who's running their pockets, like she says in her music, who's doing her thing, who's in control of a scenario to get in your emotions and to backstab your friend and to fight over a guy. That's not good for your image. But it's much better for your image if you can play the role of the victim. So there's a reason why Meg Thee Stallion's lies mattered, right? So what were the main lies? The main lie, first off, was going on live TV saying she didn't have sex with Tory Lanez. If she says she had sex with Tory Lanez and was honest about that, then it would be different, right? Said, yes, I had sex with him. Yes, I got into a fight with Kelsey, right? This is the situation that took place. But I saw Tory shoot me. She said she got out the car, walked off, only bumped into Kelsey, or that Tory bumped into Kelsey, and that Tory shot her. She said she walked forward, looked over her shoulder. He was saying, dance, bitch, dance. None of these things were corroborated by any of the witnesses. But people are being bullied by this toxic femininity. People are being bullied, and people are giving into this idea of wanting to view women as perpetual victims, regardless of what they do wrong, in order to set this precedent of making sure that a black man can always be the scapegoat in scenarios, regardless of what a woman does. To me, I think it's straight bullshit. There are definitely moments where black men are wrong. And Tory didn't do anything in my opinion, that was illegal outside of discharging the gun in a negligent way. Because what we're told, because I've been through CWP class, you don't shoot your gun unless you're choosing to kill the person in front of you, and it's an illegal scenario where you're defending yourself. Right? So he was wrong for shooting. But apparently, from what I heard, Sean said he was shooting into the air, right? Aimlessly. Perhaps he was finishing off the magazine so that no more of the shots could be fired. And this is something I'll say. When you try to protect black women in a scenario where you can be viewed as a scapegoat for what took place, don't do that. If women get into a fight, let them fight. Leave that shit alone. This is something that my father taught me. My father taught me, if you see a man and a woman get into a fight, don't break it up. Because if that woman has more loyalty towards that man than she has to you, then when they call the police, they're going to blame it on you. Right? Like Chris Rock said. Yeah, loyalty. No, not Chris Rock, but Dave Chappelle said, chivalry is dead and women killed it. So a lot of these things are real murky. But I think it's clear from the witnesses between EJ, between Kelsey, between Sean, between, I believe it was Quan or Justin, I think it was the driver and the bodyguard, that no one said that they saw Tory shooting at Meg. No one said that they saw, that they heard Tory saying, "Dance, bitch, dance," but Meg. How many lies does a person have to tell before their testimony is no longer credible? And he didn't testify. If someone is using so many shaming tactics in so many ways of trying to appeal to emotion, right? I understand why he didn't testify. They would have brought up the August Alcida situation, right? They would have brought up so many other things that were said, like just him having a horse leg that was cut up, right, in one of his music videos where he's talking about the situation. They would have brought up so many things that had nothing to do with the actual case to try to soil his character so that they can prove he did something that he didn't do. Meg's lies mattered in this particular case, and I hope he appeals, because one thing you got to understand as a man is that once a woman taps into full toxic femininity, she doesn't care what consequences you're going to have to face in order to maintain her image. She doesn't care. I think that the weight of it got to Kelsey about the consequences for that failure. I think the weight of it got to EJ. So he didn't corroborate so much of that story. What he said was they were at Kylie Jenner's party. They got kicked out. She was drunk. She was belligerent. And the situation went left. Now, the truth is this. She was hit with a bullet. She was hit with fragments of a bullet. That's true. But all evidence, in my opinion, is pointing towards Kelsey being the shooter. Yes, she wasn't the one on trial. But a trial is about without a shadow of a doubt. Reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt was clearly in this particular case. It was clearly in this case. And like, I got something to say. Like, for the people who just say, I'm going to believe what she said no matter what, no matter how many times she lies, no matter how the evidence stacks up, I'm just going to believe her because I'm taking sides. I don't trust anyone who just takes a political stance towards issues because they want to fit into certain narratives that will make them socially acceptable without looking at the facts of a particular case. I don't trust that kind of person, right? Like, you got D.L. Hughley coming out, you got different people coming out. They're doing that shit for clout. What I'm saying right now is not something that's going to give me any type of clout. But I stand on the side of proof. I stand on the side of truth. This was not some clear, cut open, and closed case. At the very least, it should have been a mistrial. Right? And I understand Tory's lawyer, right, his attorney, not going out of his way to just say Tory's innocent. Because he probably assumed, which was a bad assumption based off of this case, that when all the facts came out, that it would show that he was innocent. Right? But what we also got to understand is that court is about optics, especially when there's a jury. Right? Especially when there's a jury. And I also think that when it comes to toxic femininity, when it comes to this Black Twitter culture, this hyper push towards social justice warriors and things of the like, that there are a lot of things that are wrong, right? Like like whether you respond or you don't respond, it just makes you look more guilty. If you respond, you're responding out of guilt, right? If you respond to someone falsely accusing you, then you look guilty because you're responding. But if you don't respond, you look guilty because you didn't respond. It must mean you did it. No matter what you do or say, if someone falsely accuses you, it looks as if you're guilty. That's fucked up. People do lie. And there was probable cause for lying when it comes to this case. Like, think about the Rihanna and Chris Brown situation. People are still coming at Chris Brown as if he is some type of abuser for a situation with Rihanna. Regardless of what he did after that or what happened in those situations, she started that fight, but she used that idea of being a victim. And this is where I understand the hate towards Roc Nation for this situation, because they used that to propel her to an even greater level of stardom than she already had. But later on, she started dating Chris Brown again. People were mad at her about that. Later on, situations occurred where he did his documentary, and in that documentary, years later, it was stated that she started that fight. Took his keys, right? Grabbed the man's nuts, from what I heard, and started attacking him. So he defended himself. So this whole situation is crazy to me. Free Tory Lanez. I think Tory Lanez is innocent in this particular case. I don't think he shot Meg Thee Stallion or shot at Meg Thee Stallion. I do think that he shot fires off in the air because that's what the witness said. I don't even think that was his gun. I think that gun was in the bag that Meg had. And that Kelsey was the one who may have packed the gun into the bag so she knew where the gun was. When she started losing the fight, perhaps, she grabbed the gun. She shot at Meg. Tory wrestled Meg for the gun, took the gun, started firing off shots in the air to clear out the clip, to clear out the magazine, or to dissipate the violence that was taking place. Then afterwards, he felt guilty because him outing Meg for her promiscuous ways, and I'm not against female promiscuity. She's a single woman. She can do what she wants, right? But looking at this particular scenario, that played a part in the plausible deniability. That played a part in the reasonable doubt. The lies took the probable cause away from Kelsey being the shooter. You got to understand with the sisterhood, certain things are just going to happen. But if you're a man in the mix, when the sisterhood goes against each other, you're going to be the scapegoat for what happened. So this is Coach Brody. I'm out.